What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Phase 6, your source for music, business, motivation, and support. It's your boy, Sir Love. Today's topic is going to be about trendy versus talent. What's the difference? How is that going to impact you going forward? Once again, these are executive conversations that me and tastemakers and homies in the game have about the business. And I want to relate this information to you so you can go forward, take this information and succeed, knowing what people are thinking behind the scenes. So let's jump into it. It's your boy, Sir Love, Phase 6. So the first thing I want to do in this video is tell you guys what is the difference between trendy and talent. What do I mean by this? Because there are trendy people that are talented, right? So what does that mean to be trendy or talented? Well, this is the concept that I mean by this. So trendy, anytime any new style of music comes out, you immediately get a whole bunch of people that are following that wave. For example, for just being recent, Migos came out and completely changed the whole cadence to how people are rapping now. You got the whole like the stutter step type rap. It's kind of in a different pocket, and now everyone's including that in their style and that flow. That flow today is a trend that's been done many times over for many years. When Drake came out, he changed the natural cadence and flow. When Jeezy came out, he changed the cadence and flow. There's a time period when Kanye West was controlling the cadence and flow. T-Pain changed the whole way we approach music. Biggie completely changed the whole cadence and flow. Rakim changed the whole cadence and flow. Ice Cube, NWA changed the way we approach music. Like, these things have been happening historically for a long time, and that's just hip hop. I'm really big into hip hop, so I can say it from hip hop, but you've seen the same thing happen in every genre. There's a group that comes out that just changes the way that everyone in that genre does music going forward. Therefore, anyone that's following that wave falls in the category of trendy. Now, of course, to stay relevant, you're going to include the trendiness in your music. But if your style fits directly in the mix sequentially after something else that's hot in today's music without any change, without any recognition of anything to the average consumer that doesn't know who you are, you're probably a trendy artist, okay? So if you're a trendy artist and you're following the trend, you're normally making music for fame, you're normally making music for your friends, local and neighborhood, people are partying to you, people are dancing, because trendy is normally associated with dancing, partying, and having fun. It can also be associated with other things, but if you're a trendy artist, there's different opportunities that await you versus artists that fall into the talented category. So what do we mean about artists that fall into the talented category? The talented category are artists that do things that are completely left field. They normally create the trends of the future. They're normally changing the tone of everything. They have their own pocket. They're normally artists that don't necessarily get all the radio play or don't get played in the club as often. If you think about Beyonce, when she came out, she was not a club-driven artist. You didn't hear her in parties that often. Now, she did have some records that hit, but records later on in her career, especially in the urban community, started playing in urban clubs later with the Beyonce album. That's her fourth album, right? But, you know, some of her other records, some of her pop records were getting played in different clubs. But if you just think about Beyonce as a whole, this is a talented artist versus a trendy artist, right? That's an easy debate, easy conversation to have. There's a lot of other artists that fall into the talented category. Chance the Rapper, for example, is just a talented guy. He didn't necessarily fall into the club bracket. It took a while for him to get a record that actually did perform well in the clubs and different things of that nature, right? So I'm just trying to set the tone of what do I mean by trendy and what do I mean by talented. And now let me talk about how that's going to impact you. First thing that being trendy is going to impact is going to be your numbers and your ability to get a deal based off of them. If you're a trendy artist, your evaluation for anything that you're doing is going to be heavily built and based off of your numbers. By numbers, I mean your fame-driven numbers that we talked about in the previous video. We're talking about your followers, your subscribers. All these different things are going to have heavy impact on you if you're a trendy artist and you're trying to, land any deal, whether that's playlist-driven, radio-driven, show-driven, record deal-driven, merchandise-driven, not merchandise, but endorsement-driven. Anything of that nature. Trendy artists have to show numbers. You're trendy. You're in the trendy group. Show how trendy you are. Get those numbers. However, If you're in the talented group, it's going to be less about how trendy you are, and it's going to be more about how much potential money you can drive. How big is your market for what you do? How many people are currently buying into what you're doing? How much money are you currently making? We recognize that what you're doing isn't on the current trend, on the current wave. What you're doing could transcend the current wave and last for multiple waves. You may be a longevity artist. A lot of people say they want to be in this category, but if you're in this category, you still have to command your group. That means that typically, if you're in the talented space, that means that if you come across 10 people, 8 people become fans afterward. Where if you're trendy, you come across, 50 people and 8 people become fans, right? That's all about mass marketing. Whereas this area is all about targeted marketing. You really have to get out there and show your stickiness. Because if you're talented and you think you're talented, but you're going someplace and you're meeting 10 people and they're hearing your music and none of them are liking it, you might not be as talented as you think you are. So talent is all about your ability to acquire and retain your stickiness. When talented people do shows and people come out, right? Talented people, are able to create revenue and value for themselves, even on a small scale, but they're able to do it consistently. This artist makes $500 a month off of just music consistently, right? And it's not based off of some trendy thing that they have no control over. It's not because they did someone else's YouTube cover and they're getting residuals from the publishing. No, it's because they go out and they sell $500 worth of merchandise every month, right? So these are 2 different ways of looking at it. You're going to get 2 different types of deals. People are going to look at you completely different. So a trendy artist is going to be in a scenario in which they're going to have to show numbers. You can get whatever you want if you show numbers. If that is where you want to play, by all means, play there. Maximize it, really get it, and recognize that your trend is going to change. So you need to really get as much as you can out of it before, times change and that style of music expires, and then you may disappear with the trend, right? Like, think about it. There was a time period when Little John was hot and crunk music was everything. I'm in Atlanta. Everyone in Atlanta was making records where they were just yelling and chanting and doing all that. Well, when that phase ended and you've already branded yourself as this trendy style, and now we're on to the next. Now snap music is in and everyone's leaning with it and rocking with it, and you're sitting there going, oh shit, I guess I should do this now. And now your core audience is saying, well, what are we doing here? You lose your core fans. You're trying to get new fans. Your new fans are hearing your old stuff like, oh, this dude's corny. He doesn't even know, and you're falling off, right? You're finding yourself in these situations. Very few artists are able to really, remake themselves or rebrand themselves over and over and over again throughout time. R. Kelly's a beast at it. 2 Chainz did it very well. We changed his name the whole 9, but it's a difficult thing to do. So if you're going to be a trendy artist, you need to pick your wave and you need to go hard at it, cowabunga, ride that bitch to the end. You know what I'm saying? However, if you're going to go the talented route, recognize that you're going to be overlooked and slept on for a very long time, because just because you're talented doesn't mean that you're going to win. It means when you're talented, it typically means someone else has to go out there and put in all the work for you to make you hot. A lot of talented artists aren't willing to put in the work. That's just what it is. So if you're talented and you're willing to put in the work to get new fans, to get more people loving you, every person you come in contact with has to be a potential fan conversation, and you have to treat it as such. You're a 24/7 salesperson, and you're out there building your audience one person at a time. Every now and then you get some big marketing thing that occurs, some anomaly, and all of a sudden you jump up 500 fans, but it's a slow growth until you get to the point where you can do other initiatives that are going to expand what you guys are doing. So I want you to recognize who you are. If you're a trendy artist, doing talent-based art, talent, and not saying that you're not talented if you're trendy. Don't get it wrong. Like, you can be in the new wave and extremely talented, right? And you could be talented and you can have trendy records, right? But I want you to recognize, figure out your core. Do you fall on this side of the spectrum or on this side of the spectrum? Because when you're talking business, people are going to treat you left or right. They're not going to sit there and try to realize and figure out why you're a mixture of this and that and the third, initially. They're going to treat you left or right, and then they're going to try to build you across, right? If you're a trendy artist, they're either going to say, he's a trendy artist, that's all he is, let it go, let's make our money and let's get going, right? Migos were technically a trendy artist when they first came out, right? But they created the trend. Since they created the trend, it's like, well, maybe we can move them over this side. These guys are truly talented. They created a whole trend, right? Where you have people that are following their trend and you're like, let's just leave you over here and let's just get what we can right now. Whereas you have people over here that are talented. You think about her team was moving. They were doing their thing. They were really building online, right? But they didn't get the massive push until they signed a major deal and they made things happen with TDE. TDE? They went to TDE? Yeah, I think her went to TDE. I'm not sure. I'm not 100%. But I do know that was the exact same thing they did with SZA, and SZA made that move. SZA was a very talented person that wasn't getting the trendy awareness, and TDE was able to grab her up and make some things happen. And I have to fact check the her thing, I really don't recall. But I hope that was helpful for you guys. I don't know everything, but I know a lot about a little and a little bit about a lot. I'm trying to share you guys in on conversations that I've been having with tastemakers in reference to how they think about artists and signing artists. I hope this sparks conversation. Tell me what you guys think below. Are you trendy? Are you talented? What do you think the difference is between trendy and talented for you and what you're doing? Do you disagree with what I said? Do you disagree with the debates that we're having? I don't know. Let's talk about it below. It's your boy Sir Love. I'm out.